Today, I'd like to talk about the social experiment of Ballymun. In the 1950s, people in the city centre realised living in tenement buildings wasn't actually that cute, because there were no bean bags, coffee machines, or tech workers sleeping on bunk beds to save money while getting a foot on the broken property ladder, like there are in these tenements. So in 1965, the government invented a magical land called Ballymun. Ballymun was sold to the public as a social utopia, a mystical place with a constant flowing stream of running water and central heating. Halfway through funding the Ballymun project, Dublin City Council realised they forgot to put in basic facilities. Once they finished building this suburban wonderland, they failed to remember that people would actually have to live here, and not just people, but people from town. And people from town won't let you get away with anything. They're just so loud. In 1985, the City Council offered Ballymunians a surrender grant of £5,000 to buy a house in the private sector in return for them leaving Ballymun and never coming back. Hundreds of families took the surrender grant and moved out of the flats for good, leaving towering blocks of high-rises that soon became immersed in empty, vacant space. Within the space of 4 years, 25% of the flats in Ballymun were boarded up. In 1986, the City Council decided it would be a good idea to empty out the patients in Portrand Psychiatric Hospital into Ballymun, shoving them into the empty flats, which were also known as voids. So now, these people, who were in need of support from a broken mental health care system that no longer had an answer for them, were left, quite literally, screaming into the void. The meeting place in Ballymun was in the Towers pub, one of the busiest pubs in Dublin. The Towers used to sell the highest amount of Guinness in the country. Ballymun native Bono actually played a gig in the Towers, but he went to the toilet and a fly flew into his pint of Beamish, which led to a chemical reaction that turned Bono into Christy Dignam. The Ballymun roundabout is the biggest roundabout in Ballymun. It's entirely made out of roundabout, and sometimes it feels like you're going round and round in circles. Outsiders only drive around the Ballymun roundabout to get to the airport on time. The roundabout was the central hub of Ballymun. The 7 tower blocks were dotted around the roundabout. People think each tower block was named after the 7 signatories of the 1916 Proclamation of Independence, but really, the signatories were named after the tower blocks. Lots of famous people have visited Ballymun over the years as part of their campaign to seem like they're doing the world a favour. Pele was in Ballymun once to open up a football pitch before he got transported away in the helicopter he arrived in. The Pope also got driven through Ballymun. He even stuck his hand out of a moving car to wave at a group of lads as he was making his way to the airport, to get as far away from Ballymun as possible. The children of Ballymun grew up watching airplanes fly above their heads from the comfort of their grey tower blocks, knowing that the plane would never take them where they wanted to go, because no planes went to Glasnevin. Everyone believed the lifts in the Ballymun flats didn't work, but that's not true. They do work. You just have to make sure you get on at the same floor you want to get off on. In 1997, the City Council decided to reinvent Ballymun, seeing as the first plan went so well. Now, Ballymun 2.0 was underway. The City Council decided to knock down the tower blocks starting in 2004, and it took them about 10 years, because no one in the City Council knew how to work a JCB. Another aspect of the plan was to build a brand new state-of-the-art shopping centre in Ballymun with a swimming pool, bowling alley, library and a creche. But then the government, in a panicked frenzy, pulled the funding at the last minute because they realised Ballymun had no infrastructure for so long, and they wanted to keep it that way because Ballymun with new amenities would just be too much to get used to. So they handed the keys of the shopping centre over to their friends at Nama. I'm not sure who runs Nama, but if you spell it backwards, I think it's a man. All in all, Ballymun 2.0 was an attempt to solve the housing crisis. A €1 billion attempt at solving the housing crisis, which ended up somehow creating even more homelessness, with 20% of Dublin's homeless population being from Ballymun. Ballymun residents worship the sun. On a clear day, the Ballymunians all gather around the Temple of Ikea to give praise to the ultraviolet rays. The sunshine hits the Ballymun ecosystem in such a way that causes 50-year-old men to take their tops off in 8-degree weather and start shouting "Yup!" This phenomenon has become known as sun in the mun. Namaste.